Sup? I'm Josh, and this video here happens to be the first video here on this channel. In case you don't know who I am or what I do here, basically, I make videos about history, alternate history, as well as modern American politics. Occasionally. So, if you find yourself interested in any of those, maybe stick around, I guess. Now, with all that out of the way, let's move on to our topic. So, who was the last emperor of China? Well, that sounds easy enough. Just a quick Google search to be able to give you the answer. However, like all things when it comes to Chinese history, if you dig just a little bit deeper, you'll find that the answer is much more complicated than that. After I did just a little bit of research, I found that there's a stable case for two different individuals to be named as the last emperor of China. Dude number one is the Xuantong Emperor, better known by his birth name of Puyi. And dude number two is the Hongxin Emperor, better known as Yuan Shikai. And there's also this dude that's kind of important that we gotta talk about, but we'll get to him later. Let's start with Puyi. So, Puyi was born on February 7th, 1906. His relative, Zaishan, is the Guangxu Emperor of the Qing dynasty. Now, the Qing dynasty wasn't in such good state at this point, but things were made even worse when Guangxu over here died on November 14th, 1908, making Puyi become emperor at a record old age of 2 years old, and became the new Xuantong Emperor just a few weeks later. But things would get even worse for the Qing dynasty when, on October 10th, 1911, the Xinhai Rebellion began. It was at this point when a certain Yuan Shikai, general over the Beiyang Army, was called in to help stop the revolutionaries, but he did basically nothing. Instead, Yuan became Puyi's prime minister and decided to start negotiating with the revolutionaries. It was at this moment when Yuan had a brilliant plan. He made a deal with the revolutionaries in which, if he got rid of Puyi, then he would become their first president. And so it was. On February 12, 1912, Yuan Shikai, as well as Puyi's regent, Empress Dowager Longyu, decreed the totally unoriginally named Imperial Edict of the Abdication of the Qing Emperor. Seriously, you could have gone with anything and that's what you went with? Okay. And so, at the ripe old age of 6 years old, Puyi's reign was officially over. But now, with Puyi out of the picture, and Yuan Shikai having consolidated power for himself, he started getting some ideas. He started giving himself more and more power, but as he did that, opposition to him only grew and grew. But then, after hearing support for dynastic government was still rather strong in China, he had an even better idea. See, Yuan had been loyal to the Qing dynasty for a while at this point, so he thought, why don't we do that again? But with me in charge. And so it was. On December 12th, 1915, Yuan Shikai proclaimed himself the Hongxin Emperor of the new Empire of China. Unfortunately for him, this only made people hate him even more. His reign as emperor wasn't recognized by the Chinese people, nor by literally any foreign nation. Then, on March 22nd, 1916, after intense backlash, as well as deteriorating health, Yuan Shikai abdicated and died a few months later. With the collapse of Yuan's empire, a bunch of regional governors decided to piss off and create their own regional clans called cliques. And now we gotta talk about this guy, Zhang Shun. Zhang had previously served in the Beiyang Army directly under none other than our good old pal Yuan Shikai. Zhang really liked the Qing dynasty and even fought to preserve it during the Xinhai Rebellion. Once Yuan Shikai took power, he was still extremely loyal to him, despite all the backlash, and also happened to be part of a royalist party in the Republic of China. So there's a bone for your monarchists out there, I guess. And once Yuan's empire collapsed, Zhang became one of the warlords, ruling over one of the cliques. But what the hell does Mr. Mustache over here have to do with who the last emperor of China was? I hear you asking. And I'm glad you asked, purely a hypothetical person who almost certainly doesn't exist. On July 1st, 1917, Zhang took over Beijing. And Zhang, being Zhang, the Qing dynasty fanboy, decided that this was the perfect opportunity to try to bring it back. He restored Puyi, now 11 years old, back to the throne, with himself as his new prime minister. But unfortunately for Zhang, the rest of China wasn't as huge of a Qing fanboy as him, so they all just dismissed it as just another warlord shenanigan. Zhang's restoration was never recognized. Not by the Chinese government, not by the Chinese people, and not by literally any foreign country. By all accounts, it was all just a giant sham. And so, Puyi had to abdicate for the second time just 11 days later, on July 12, 1911. So now, this begs the question, who was the real last emperor of China? Was it Puyi? Was it Yuan Shikai? Was it Zhang Shun, whose pure levels of Qing fanboy overloaded the system, making him the new emperor? As possible as all of these may be, I have to say that the one true last emperor has to be Puyi. This is mostly because both Yuan Shikai's reign as well as Puyi's second reign were both illegitimate, making Puyi the last emperor. And even if you counted both of those as legitimate for some reason, Puyi would still be the last emperor, since his second reign came after Yuan Shikai's. However, despite this, there is still a decently solid case for Yuan Shikai. You see, despite the fact that his reign wasn't recognized by the people of China, or by any foreign government, his reign was still technically recognized to some degree by the Chinese government itself, something that Puyi didn't have during his second reign. Plus, Yuan Shikai's reign was of his own doing, and he was the one who was actually in charge, unlike how Puyi's second reign was propped up by Zhang Shun, who was doing all the real work. So, in conclusion, Chinese history is very messy, and we barely even know who their last emperor was. So, with that in mind, if you enjoyed this video, maybe leave a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions as to what video I should make next, please let me know in the comments. I might just make a video on your topic. Well, see ya.